Okay, our final Baer Faxt live from Basel, and I do this to everybody. You know, this is Basel. It's an American term that people around the world don't know the Basel where it is. So thank you, Artlogic, for sponsoring this edition of the Baer Faxt Live. From inventory and accounts management to websites and payments, to discover why the art world runs on Artlogic today. Our last guest today, Esther Schipper, is graciously coming to this interview from her booth at the fair. So it's like great courage to come while it's still going on. Tell us the truth. What's going on down there? You've up to like 50 million in sales so far. What's going on? It's a big win.
It has been a good day. A good day. A lot of people, a lot of talks, a lot of sales, which is good. It's very busy.
So what does a good day mean to you? Did we used to have great days? We have pretty good days. It's like,
I would say we are matching our expectations.
were expectations medium high? I would say 6 months ago, in general, expectations at some of the other fairs were pretty low and they were met. Have we raised our expectations a little bit, or is it because it's Basel? One knows it's a little higher?
We compare Basel with the other Basels, not Basel. I mean, we would put our numbers in comparison with Art Basel last year, not with any other fair. For us, it's a complete different fair than all the other fairs we're doing.
Because?
Because it's the one where we do our highest numbers, and also the one being the moment where we meet a lot of important people for the gallery, museum, press.
Do you do the highest numbers because you bring your best works?
Good question. Probably also, but also because I think that it stays the place where most of our clients are coming.
Americans, to my view, more interested in going to Paris than Basel. Have you seen that it's always a talk in Basel? Are the Americans here? Are the Americans here? Did you see many, other than art advisors and other dealers?
It's a funny thing to say. America is not our main target in terms of clients.
Oh, man. It's like we can't get on those waiting lists. Oh, no. Your main targets, you're going to say, are Europeans?
European and Asians.
And can you explain to the audience a little bit of why Asia?
We started to work in Asia about 10, 15 years ago. It has a bit to do with my own biography. We started to go to China in the end of the 10s. And then when Basel came to Hong Kong, we started to do the fair. And from then on, we also went a lot to Korea, to Japan, and to Taiwan. And we opened a gallery there last 2 years ago. So, yeah.
How many times a year do you personally go to Asia?
4 or 5 times a year.
That's like, I think the truth is, if you're not prepared to go for many years, many times, it's a very hard thing. Did you succeed early on there, or was it like year after year building up to something?
It was actually the other way around.
You used to be more successful than you are now?
No, it's really because we were selling suddenly so much to Asia. We had Chinese collectors coming to Berlin to our gallery, and when we started to do project in the region, we really had a Korean audience opening up. So we know when you suddenly have more clients from a certain region, I guess you go and look more closer at it.
Now, what are the price points that your gallery is doing now versus 5 and 10 years ago?
In terms of?
The primary prices and levels of?
I would say we have a range between, we have very low price range, 15,000, 20,000 to 2-3 million. That's our price range.
And How has that evolved over the last year? Are prices coming down, primary prices, somewhat, or are they staying the same?
It's very difficult to lower prices. You would not raise prices probably at the moment.
Well, that's an interesting subject. Is it that you as a gallery don't want to lower the prices, or the artist won't let you lower the prices?
I think it's not a good sign to lower prices. You also have to see that a market is not always going in one direction. So maybe you have a plateau, and it's not that no, I don't feel the necessity to lower prices at this point.
Wait a second here. It's like, not just you, it's like, we can't lower our prices. That's even at the market. And we raise our prices. We don't really want to raise the prices. That's just the market. Auction did that. And there's a little bit of a sense of like, well, we'll raise them because we have to. But I'm not saying you specifically, but we won't drop them ever. And it's really the same forces at work, right? It's demand and quality and just general interest that are affecting what's popular and what's not, right?
True.
So what would be the harm in lowering the prices? Isn't it an issue? It's like, if you say to an artist, well, we can keep the price at, let's say, $100,000, and we're going to sell zero. But your price, you're a $100,000 artist, or we could drop them to 60 and we'd sell 10 of them.
And what would you say to the person you just sold something for 100,000 to? You said, oh.
Okay. I'd say, were you buying shares of like IBM? Did you come to this for an investment, or did you come to this because you liked it? That was the price, the same price everybody else was paying. They went up, natural forces. They come down, natural forces. You want to guarantee that it's only going to go one direction? Me personally, I would have that conversation. Now, it's 30 years since I had my gallery. So, I mean, I have that conversation with clients and in the business that we're selling things for half the price of what they were worth 3 years ago. It's like, that's the number.
Not raising prices is like lowering prices.
But everybody knows. So it's kind of like, we didn't raise the price, so we lower the price. Isn't it a little bit of like, I mean, there are other ways to do it. We now have smaller pieces, or we have bigger pieces, right? Isn't that another methodology to sort of adjust the prices?
I didn't really encounter this moment in that way you're talking. It would mean that we were talking about not selling a certain artist at a certain price for a very long time, like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But if there is popularity,
and I'm talking generally, not just trying to drill down to you specifically, to your peers. And everybody knows the business is a little softer.
Sure.
So given that in general, rather than just saying your case, to speak in that sort of way, rather than just you.
I mean, maybe with the artist, we work with a lot of artists who are working with either media work or need external production to produce their works. So you would eventually think about changing methods of production, or thinking about putting the work into a different context, which will lead automatically maybe to different pricing.
How many artists do you work with?
Around 50.
Around 50. How many artists are you showing here?
Around 20.
20. So I remember knowing you in like the early days of art fairs, where it was more like just a place to meet people and meet curators. In my case, the artist's like, why are you taking my work to an art fair? Now it's like, how are you telling those other 30 artists they're not at Art Basel? That must be like not so simple, figuring out what to take.
That's true. But we're also doing the fair since over 30 years. And I think that what we bring to the fair is related to our program, the exhibitions we just did, or certain new productions or project-driven. Some artists we're not bringing, we would do an exhibition with, or we will bring
But
them.
some artists require like a gallery show to sell more than an art fair context to sell, right? Some artists are very adaptable to this kind of urgency, here's what a booth looks like, and prosper in that environment, and some probably sell better if they're in a one-person show, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are also artists who really don't want to be shown at art fairs, and artists who are waiting to you to ask them to produce something for an art fair.
And how many art fairs do you do a year?
Oh, about 10.
Are we rethinking that at all?
We always rethink that, and we end up doing even more. I don't really know how that happens.
So you sit down with the staff, it's, we need to do less.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I hear that. It's like, I've got too much on my plate, so let's take more, give me more plates. Like, we're doing too many art fairs at the beginning of the meeting, and then you wind up with one extra, right?
Yeah, so we start, like the supporting team said, we have too many projects. We can't continue this way. So we sit down, and when we do our planning meetings, and we think, okay, what shall we not do? And then we take all kinds of decisions, and then a week later somebody would come around, oh, but that's so important. If we would do this, then, yeah.
What do you make of the fact that more people will see a solo booth of one artist, more people see that show than 6 weeks in the gallery?
That's true, but the attention span is absolutely not the same.
Right. And that's, some artists work fine, the artwork's being seen in that 30-second thing, and some need an hour in the gallery.
Yeah, it's very difficult to produce same quality exhibition on a fair booth than in the gallery. Here you have the luxury to have at least a couple of days to install. You can also ask early installation. Most of the fairs in big convention centers have like a day and a half for install. This is very difficult to get a good solo exhibition together under these circumstances.
But it must be challenging. On the one hand, today you sold, 42 things for X million of dollars, and you can think, and I would think, wow, that was great. And then part of you is like, I miss the day when I was sitting with a client for 3 hours, going through the books to get them to buy one drawing for 17,000. That's like your nature. So isn't there like an internal battle between old school and new school?
No.
No, you like new school? Or you like old school? Which one?
I like new school.
You like new school. Well, that's an honest answer. It's like all the people bitching, oh, I did too much. I couldn't, only talk to these people for 10 seconds. They bought it, how terrible it is. It's so much better back in the old way. People have more time to think. That's BS. You like make the deal. Next one. It's pretty good, right?
Yeah. And also, I don't like looking back. I'm not too nostalgic. It's not... we're facing a lot of challenges, and I'm very happy that we're still able to do this way.
By challenges, do you mean like global challenges?
Yes. I think that we talk about the challenging in our little art world, but the challenging we're facing at the moment are so bigger. And so a very good first day in Art Basel is, comforting.
Is it a nice distraction from the news of the morning, and then you can focus in this, and then maybe you don't look at the news tonight when you get home, so do you think that relates to how people are collecting what they want to look at? Because there's a sort of desire to not think about what's going on there. Can you feel that?
I feel that there is a lot of changes in taste and in what people need to see, which has to do with the world we're living at the moment.
Can you go one more step and what you think that change is?
Yes, I think that when I started the gallery over 30 years ago, we were all believing in the future. I opened my gallery in '89. where the wall came down. I think that we are not really into times where we believe a lot into a bright future. We hope at least we have a lot of hope, or we try to help and work to make things positive. But it's, I think there's like much more different questions at the moment.
I've been feeling like I expect to see more work about that.
Yes.
And I'm seeing less work about that.
Really?
And maybe it's, I don't know if the artists are moving a certain way or the collectors are gearing the galleries to not put that there too much because they don't want to, this is their playtime. This is fun. We're professionals. We think of this as work. But if you flew here from, Stuttgart for your 2 days a year, this is fun.
Yeah.
And there's a certain element of fun that's involved, or not having to think about all these bigger issues.
True. But I also think that you see more work dealing with questions of identity, questions of culture, introspection, and even things I would have not thought even talking about, like spirituality. People are searching other things in art.
So they're using those things to get to the bigger picture, but in a sort of less overt way.
Yeah. I mean, you would not, like 20 years ago, the art we would see here will deal with completely other issues. Remember, we were talking about too much bling bling at this fair. I don't think we see much of that. We see a lot of paintings.
We see a lot of attractive painting.
Yes.
We see a lot of, the identity has sort of changed from like a larger identity politics to what I call, here I am in the bodega identity.
Yeah.
And that, for me, I'm not sure that's been a big advance, but I think there's been that, here I am in whatever sort of cultural moment you want to express. Yeah. And I think it's real. And I think that's been the art movement of the last 3 or 4 years.
Exactly. I agree with you.
So what's the next art movement?
Oh, I would love to know.
What do you suspect? I know you don't think, it's not going to be AI, right? So we're going to go there, or will it?
If it will be AI?
Artificial intelligence.
No, I know. I don't think it will be AI. I think you will have more and more artists using AI, but I don't think AI will make art.
I didn't make it to the second floor because I was doing this all day. Any digital work up there? And NFTs, anybody ever heard of an NFT? It's amazing. Like 2 years ago, I hadn't heard the word. For 3 years, is it 3? And then it was like, I'm an idiot. Why am I not doing that? And now they seem to be gone. Does anybody upstairs have any? Do you have any?
No.
Did any of your artists make NFTs?
Some, but I was never really so interested.
But they tried it just like, here's a new art form, or they thought...
I think it was this momentum in the pandemic where everybody suddenly, there was this new idea and distracting from all these pandemic questions. So suddenly a lot of people were like, oh, let's make NFTs, but...
Well, you bought some, right?
No.
No? You wish you had? Nope. No. So there's always something coming.
Yes.
It's like, how and when? Do you think it'll be still through this traditional model of artist with gallery or galleries, which is a little bit more of the case, and then institutions and art fairs, or do you see something down around the corner?
I see more the fact that we're going through a big transformation process, but like it's often when you're in the middle of it, that you don't really still have a vision of where it's going to.
So what's the transformation from? I know you're saying you're not sure where it's going. So what are we transitioning from?
We're transitioning from an art market who was getting very global into something which is maybe getting or focusing more again on local. At the same time, we're becoming a real industry, which is we also need to adapt to as businesses.
I think that's one of the things too that we're looking at the art market from the sense, we talked about it before, of revenue. But I don't think many of the businesses have worked as businesses, where you didn't start out as a business person.
No.
And now you need to understand healthcare and pensions and HR things and management and all that. And that's a very hard transition to look at your expense side. And everything's focused on sort of the revenue side. Revenues, some are higher, some are lower, some years are better, sort of anecdotal. But the expense side seems kind of fixed, right?
The expenses, yeah.
Or
Unless you
going
go
up.
through a huge inflation and prices go rocket, like we've been witnessing in the last 2-3 years. I mean, transportation, traveling, all these costs have been.
Well, you just got a great government boost for the German art market, right? With the tax reduction.
Yeah, let's see if that's. It's not completely through, but it's true that if it's through, then it's going to be a real boost.
Will it attract galleries to open in Germany?
I think this tax reduction will not only happen in Germany. France has also declared that they will go back to the lower tax. I guess the rest of the European Union will follow.
But England is sort of still.
England is not part of the European Union, as we
kind
know.
of stuck in a competitive disadvantage that they put themselves into.
Yeah.
To be sort of polite.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's one thing that you could tell our audience about being an exhibitor in Art Basel that would surprise them? What should they know that they don't know? That's kind of like that you've learned over the years, or even learned this year.
Oh, what a question. I don't really know how to answer this. I think for somebody who've never been here, it's really the moment where you see over a century of art exhibit. And I don't know of any fair who has such a big range of art in terms of the timeline, but also on the global questions. I think it's probably the most international art fair worldwide. And I think that's, if you want to know what is happening in the market, I think this is really still the place to be.
What I would say to answer my own question, because I do that in my head all the time, is in going to too many art fairs, sometimes I can do one in 2 hours. Like, you can figure out which one. And when some of my clients, they'll spend an hour. It's like, if you go into pretty much any booth here, you'll find something interesting. Galleries you never heard of. It's like, how did that Richard Serra get here? Or some gallery from, Shanghai that you never heard of. It's like, that's pretty interesting. And that's the uniqueness of here. It's almost every booth has something worth stopping at. Now, unfortunately, I only had 2 hours this whole trip to look around, so I didn't get that experience. But what I would tell people is you need to spend no less than 2 days in the fair, probably 3. I would encourage the dealers to stay in their booths longer, the owners. I don't know how many, but this is something that's different than the other 299 art fairs. So that would be what I didn't know at the beginning. So, Esther, you can go back and if you've got anything left to sell, we're letting you get back there on the floor, a couple more emails, some PDFs to people, like, now's the chance,
To do that in the
last half hour. It's not going to be around tomorrow. You better decide. And then we'd like to also thank Artlogic for sponsoring this edition of the Baer Faxt Live. They're trusted by over 5,000 galleries, artists and collectors worldwide, and Artlogic provides the tools that one needs to run their entire art business. And we will see you, Baer Faxt Live people, again soon.